I'm a trainer, so I'm doing sexual harassment prevention training. I'm doing diversity and inclusion training. And one day, one of my clients says, "Hey, could you do this for one guy?" I'm like, "What?" "Yeah, could you do this for one guy? We want you to focus all that content one-on-one with one guy, break him down, put him back together, and then tell us whether we should keep him or fire him." I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And the first thing I said is, "What do I put in the invoice?" And they go, "Executive coach." And that's how my coaching journey started. I had a client who says, "We got this one monster. We want you to just," and I just got another request for that.
In the coaching and consulting world, everyone talks about success, but few talk about what it really takes to get there. I'm Kevin Holly, and this is Coaches Unplugged, where we pull back the curtain and have honest conversations with the people shaping the industry. In each episode, you'll hear how top coaches and consultants built their businesses, faced their challenges, and continue to grow both in impact and in mindset. No fluff, no pretense, just real stories, real lessons, and real talk about what it takes to build something that lasts. Today's guest is Mauricio Velasquez, president of the Diversity Training Group and a nationally recognized leader in workplace culture, diversity, and inclusion. Mauricio has spent over 25 years helping organizations build respectful, engaging environments where people feel valued and perform at their best. He's trained over 1 million employees and leaders across the US and around the world, working with everyone from corporate teams and government agencies to the military and higher education institutions. Mauricio is not only a seasoned consultant and executive coach, but also an author, former university instructor, and frequent speaker at national conferences. He's a son of immigrant parents and fluent in multiple cultures, bringing in a global perspective shaped by living and working in more than 70 countries. His work centers on trust, respect, and real culture change, not just check the box initiatives. Please help me welcome Mauricio. Thanks for joining us, Mauricio.
My pleasure, Kevin. And what a nice intro. I really appreciate that.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Definitely. So if you don't mind, just for our guests, just to kind of get into the conversation today, if you kind of just want to go ahead and start sharing a little bit about your role and how it fits into the bigger picture at DTG.
It's interesting. And actually, I may somebody out here might have sent you an older bio. June 1, Diversity Training Group, based here in Herndon, Virginia, is 30 years old. Now, I have an interesting origin story, and it's one of my key to my successes as a successful trainer and coach. Um, I'll get to it. Undergrad, went to UVA. I have a bachelor's in economics and psychology. Then I went to grad school at GW, got an MBA in human resource management. And that's where I came across this field of diversity and inclusion. Diversity, it's actually called race relations back then. Then it was diversity. Then it was cultural diversity. My field is constantly evolving. And right now we have to evolve because this current administration is all anti DEI. And I'm the president of the Diversity Training Group, and I'm not changing the name of my firm, which is the first lesson. You don't name the company after yourself. I mean, who am I? Mauricio Velasquez and Associates. I see too many people doing that. Big mistake. Diversity Training Group. By the way, if anybody has to call me and ask me, what does the Diversity Training Group do? I'm like, it's in our name. But undergrad, grad, worked for the IRS, worked for George Washington, the two biggest employers in Washington, went in the private sector, worked in the private sector in HR. And then I was like, it's time to get on the other side, went to work in consulting and training, kind of an apprenticeship where I learned everything, broke my teeth on DE&I, then worked one more firm, and then I started my own firm almost 30 years ago. And I started my firm on a houseboat in the Inner Harbor. And I'll show you a picture. In the Inner Harbor, this was my first office, floating Winnebago, big man move,
Wow.
slept 8. But the best part, and this is what people need to know, was that my boat payment was $220 a month, and my slip fee was $300 a month. And that included utilities. I had to cut any grass, and I could just grind. And so my first 5 years, I lived on my boat and worked off my boat with a $1 billion view of the Inner Harbor. I could see the aquarium. And I taught at Johns Hopkins at the time for 5 years, the police executive leadership program. And the officers would have to come down to my boat to drop off their homework. And I'm like, whoa, what is this? So I started off lean and mean. Now I own my office in historic Herndon, Virginia, which is another teachable moment. I pay myself rent. And when I, the owner, the landlord, I'm the owner, landlord, but I'm also the tenant. So I pay myself rent. And when you pay yourself rent, you don't pay FICA, FUTA, Social Security. So it's a way of pulling money out of the firm without all that. So two big tips off the back. This isn't my first podcast, my first rodeo about coaching. Probably my sixth in just the last 9 days. It's crazy. Somebody hit a switch and everybody's knocking on my door. And I love doing this. So did I answer your question? My origins, I am the son of immigrants and I grew up, wondering, why do people hate other people that they've never met? And that's the early interest in my field, but it wasn't until grad school where I'm like, what is this field called? What is all this about? And my mentor, Dr. Jerry Harvey, said, I think it's called diversity. And that's another key to my success is I've had 11 mentors. But that's the
Wow.
start. That's the start, Ken.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Mauricio. Thanks for sharing that. Tell me, tell our listeners, what does a typical day look like for you? I mean, you're the president, right? You're the president of DTG. You've been running it for 30 years now. Congratulations on
Crazy, right?
that.
Yeah.
Definitely
Well,
3 decades. What does a
3 decades.
typical day look like for you?
Yeah. I outlasted Ellen DeGeneres. I outlasted Oprah Winfrey. I joke, there isn't a typical day. Like last week, I was in 5 different cities speaking, training, coaching. This week, I was teaching at George Mason University, one of the most diverse universities in the country. Great classroom. The kids are very diverse and very inquisitive. And then I did a webinar. And then yesterday I had a podcast. And today I have a podcast. And in between, I'm training, I'm consulting. I'm an ombudsman for one of my clients. I'm their HR function. They have like 18 employees, but I'm on call with them, training, coaching. But right now, I'm helping them find a new leader. So I'm involved in looking at resumes. We're looking at the CEO role. That's why I love what I do. Every day is different. And quite frankly, for the trainers and the coaches listening to me, that it's rare that we can be in the office and make money. We got to be out of the office, pressing the flesh, training, consulting, coaching. So I really, unless I'm doing virtual learning, which I'm not a big fan of, I do it, but there is no typical day. And that's why I like it. I don't like rote, every day is the same thing. I like coaching. I like training. I like advising, counseling, and every day is a little bit of all of that. And I do assessments. I do diagnosis. So I might be doing interviews in support of an assessment. I'm a trainer, I'm a consultant, I'm a coach in DE&I, but it's now psychological safety, trust, employee engagement, emotional intelligence, what I call advanced DEI. And so just those topical areas are different, but related. And then the work is different, but related. So every day is different. That's what I love. And I think the most important thing is I control my day. The podcaster yesterday was asking me, like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, I take 10 weeks of vacation a year. I'm on a 4-day work week. Control. That's what I love the most. I control every day.
That's incredible. I'm sure most people that are listening that's their goal, right? Is
Yeah.
to be able to control their day and be able to have that time
Pay the
freedom
bills.
as well
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
as well as everything else that comes with it. That's awesome.
And I think the other
Tell us.
development is I wrote this book called Tackling Toxicity. It's a full-time job, but all of last year, on top of everything else I mentioned, I was writing this book, in between all the craziness, not knowing that we'd enter 2025 and it's the most toxic year I've ever seen. And there is hope with the election recently or 2 days ago that people are finally engaging the toxicity, finally getting involved. As I say in my book, get off the sidelines. Don't be a bystander. Be an upstander. Get in the game. And people voted in record numbers. So I'm hopeful too that is a full-time job. I didn't have time to dedicate, but that was the other thing I was constantly doing. And then recently, I just finished the audio book. That I thought I could
I
knock
saw
out.
that.
I thought I could knock that out in a weekend, and it took me 8 weeks. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. That's all new. I mean, writing a book, audio book, all the editing, all that's not in my wheelhouse. So I surround myself with smart people.
What was the most challenging part about transitioning into the audiobook?
Well, First of all, you're going to laugh. And I hope this is new to some of your listeners, but you need to find a quiet place, right? That's hard. I mean, a place where, I live next to Dulles Airport. So, you hear planes and there's a road behind our house. In the office, there's a fire department right here in downtown Herndon. I had to cardboard and foam and duct tape on both sides of the one window in my basement office at home to try to create a safe, sound, quiet place. Now, that's the first issue. Once you got all that and all your technology set up, then you have to read the book out loud. You have to narrate it. And you don't realize how your voice gets a little wonky. You need water. Oh, and then I heard something. I got to and you're going through chapter by chapter doing this. And then this is the craziest. I came across typos that I did not read in the book when I was writing it. And I had 7 different people reading this, but I heard the typo in the audio portion. I'm like, man, I got to go back and fix that. I only recently cleaned up 7 typos. But most challenging, writing a book is hard. The audio book is hard, but for all of your listeners thinking about it, the hardest part's selling it, moving the book. And it's on Barnes & Noble, Tackling Toxicity. It's on Amazon. Amazon, by the way, are thieves. Out of a book of like $17.99, I make like $3. I mean, they take.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's horrific. That's why if you go to my website, diversitydtg.com, there's a bookstore, and I'm using books.buy, my own like self-publishing, my own bookstore, and I make triple. I make a decent, and I lowered my price there. And by the way, Amazon can change the price of my book anytime they want. I have no control over it. It's madness. So I might become a book consultant and say to people, don't do it or don't trust it. There's a lot of people in the book publishing business that are just absolute nightmares.
Yeah, I was thinking, I don't think many people know that books on Amazon it's structured that way. That's bizarre.
It's a scam, man.
When you think about it.
Major scam. And the audio book, iTunes, more respectable audio, whatever, all these different platforms, it is so complicated. And that's been a challenge. You got to be technically very savvy. You're using sound files and we're setting the master and the master doesn't fit on their template. And you're like, wow, what do I do? I can't cut it. It's madness. It's madness. But my last 7 clients have come from my book. So, and the book, the fees I paid for writing it and the audiobook, all that has already been paid off and probably like 5 times more now. So
that's awesome.
And the last thing, because I keep thinking, who are your listeners? 2 million books come out a year. 2 million, right? Most don't sell more than 50 copies. How about that? How about that for what you don't know, you don't know? And I had
50.
one client who hired me to train all their people half day, all their senior management and upper management. And they bought 150 copies. Plus I got paid a fee to train and I coached for them. So one client, I'm above the fray, but maybe it's a whole other podcast about books. It is brutal.
Wow. You said a mouthful there. Again, very educational for a lot of our listeners who may be thinking about writing a book in the future or, authoring or even releasing an audiobook. These are things that people don't typically think about unless you've done it like yourself. So thank you for sharing those insights.
Well, and you don't know it until you're doing it. And it's almost too late.
Exactly.
I narrated my own book, but if I need to find a narrator, that's like another $3,000 to $5,000. I mean, it's not, fortunately, I love what I do. My book are all stories, my stories, so I can tell them with passion because I was there,
Right.
But to your point and to your listeners, just be very careful. And I'll say one other thing, because I wish I'd heard this in a podcast. Don't let your ego get in the way. Don't be a narcissist. My 2 editors were like, you're really easy to work with. I'm like, what are you talking about? Well, we have authors that don't want to change anything. And this is what, no, change it, restructure it. The idea that I could write this whole book by myself is ridiculous. No, you need editors and copy and marketing. And, so I surrounded myself with smart people and I just got out of the way. I delegated. And I know a lot of people can't do that. And I started with, there was 10 authors at the same time. And by the way, they all thought Last point I'll make it. They all thought I'm going to write a book and become a gazillionaire because my book's going to be on the New York Times bestseller. Forget that. I wrote a book to raise the back of my office, the training, the coaching. The book is, and I can give my book to somebody I'm coaching and go, dude, you need to read this. You're toxic, right? But they're not moving. They're not selling books, but they're not trainers and coaches and speakers like I am. I'm the only one rocketing to the moon because the book is just a piece of a bigger strategy.
Definitely, definitely. You've been through quite a bit, Mauricio, and it's of immense value for you to share some of your insights, you know, and as well, hopefully our listeners will go out and and read your book, Tackling Toxicity, on Amazon or other platforms. Where would you recommend they buy the book if not Amazon? On your
Don't
website,
buy
I
it
I
from
would assume.
Amazon. I'm sure if they hear this, they're gonna lose their mind. But you buy it from me. Go to my bookstore. I've discounted it. And if you buy it from me and you email me, I'll send you a presentation that I do attached to the. I mean, I'm training and speaking all the time, and I have a workshop tied in with the book. I'll send that to you, a PDF of that. That's the difference.
Beautiful.
Yeah, my website diversitydgg.com is the best spot. Reach out to me. Or I can sign my
Perfect.
own author book and I can send you a copy as well. But books.by, it's actually, they're out of Australia and they do all of the back end.
Awesome. That would be great. Awesome. So again, like I said, Marissa, you've been through a lot. You've been through a lot of different experiences in your 3-decade career. Can you tell our listeners what was a key turning point or a breakthrough moment for you that changed everything?
Well, and I haven't shared this. This is a great question. I'm a trainer. So I'm doing sexual harassment prevention training. I'm doing diversity and inclusion training. And one day, one of my clients says, hey, could you do this for one guy? I'm like, what? Yeah, could you do this for one guy? We want you to focus all that content one on one with one guy, break him down, put him back together, and then tell us whether we should keep him or fire him. I'm like, what are you talking about? And the first thing I said is, what do I put in the invoice? And they go, executive coach. And that's how my coaching journey started. I had a client who says, we got this one monster. We want you to and I just got another request for that yesterday. I do a lot of one on one coaching and some of it's virtual. I prefer face to face, see the whites of their eyes kind of thing. But that was a turning point. Wasn't something I wasn't originally a coach. I'm a trainer. I'm a consultant first. I'm an author, probably third, a coach second. I think living on the boat with low overhead, allowing me to reinvest my revenues, my income back in the business, surrounding myself with good people, the bookkeeper, the accountant, the IT, the web people. I am not a one man wrecking crew, do it all by myself. Also listening to my wife. I mean, I could be like many of you working out of the basement of your house and then you're working all the time. No, I have boundaries. I leave the office and I leave it at the office and I go home. That's maybe why I'm still happily married, 30 years and 3 kids. I also love to travel. And I've flown 1.5 million miles with United. Although, thank God I'm not traveling this week with all these issues in the air, but I love to travel. I love training. I love what I do, so it's not work. I stopped working 30 years ago.
Wow, that's a mouthful. You stopped working 30 years ago.
I mean, it's work, but it's work I love, right? And it's diverse. Again, different every day. Uh, I bring my dog to work because it's my office. So I'm the landlord of the tenant. I've got a futon and I need to take a nap. I grab him and I curl up and I take a nap. I drive an old convertible because it's only 2 miles. I have an '87 Celica with 212,000 miles, but it'll get me back and forth from home. I mean, it's the little things that I think are so important to my sanity. We'll take a walk after this call. I'm fighting high blood pressure and pre-diabetes. I'm winning, but it's because I integrate the exercise and the health and the wellness into everything I do.
Yeah. There was one study that shared approximately 85% of people are not fulfilled with their job,
Mm,
which is alarming that it would be that high, right? But one report does show that with the study, they found that 85% of people are not happy with their jobs. They're not, you know, they called it they hate their job, which is very, very strong, a strong word, obviously. And it's interesting that you say you haven't worked in 30 years because, I always heard the old saying, if you find a job you love, you'll never work a day in your life.
That's true.
So you're living out most people's dream, the fact that you've been able to build something over this long of a period of time and love it that much and be so fulfilled with it. That's awesome.
Well, and I think the other thing as I'm listening to you and reflecting, I married an amazing woman. My wife, Kelly, is a speech pathologist. She works with special needs kids. She's trilingual. She speaks Spanish, English, and she signs, and she loves her job. Now, both of us can be tired. Both of us can be like, wow, what a day. But we love what we do. So we don't bring stuff home. And now my son is working with special needs kids. Very fulfilling for him too. So I always thought I set a goal when I graduated from UVA. It's like, I want to be self-employed, run my own business by the time I'm 30. And I started DTG when I was 29. But I didn't know if it was going to be something I loved. I mean, I just started doing. Again, I grew up to the son of immigrants, so I experienced things, and that motivated me, drove me. But that doesn't mean because you like it and you're interested in it, that it's going to be. But every day I'm helping people. Every day I'm representing the maligned, the excluded, the marginalized. Every day, I'm coaching people on how to not be sexually harassed, how not to be discriminating. I'm helping employers make sure that they're fair and equitable in their policies and their hiring. This is God's work. If you're spiritual, religious, if Jesus was alive today, I think he'd be a diversity and inclusion trainer.
Yeah. I would have to agree with you. I would have to agree
He'd
with
be
you.
calling out so much of the horrible stuff going on right now. He'd be like, come on now.
Exactly. Exactly. Definitely, definitely. Mauricio, as far as what you're seeing in the industry right now, obviously you're a very seasoned veteran. Let's talk about what some of the pain points in the industry that you're noticing right now. What challenges would you say coaches and consultants are facing right now?
Well, first of all, if you're specifically in my space, diversity, equity, inclusion, the president and his administration are all about anti-DEI. So I am catching it on the head. I mean, I'm dealing with a headwind right now. And with my book, I kind of pivoted. It's funny. This client called me. They said, we need a new book for our leadership every year. We have these people coming in. It's an association. It's a not-for-profit. And she says, we really like your book. And it's not a DEI book. I mean, it's not explicitly a DEI book. So we can use it because DEI has the stereotype to label, to categorize all DEI as bad. When what DEI does is challenge stereotypes and labeling is madness. But I said to her, oh, there's a marketing angle here. This is a great book if you're still interested in learning about how to deal with these issues without calling it a DEI book. I don't use the term anywhere in the book. And that was last year, right? And as we turn into this year, and we have this regime, this presidency, and they're just wicked mean to everybody, women and minorities, people of color. I just sit there and go, wow, I think I was Nostradamus. I mean, I think I wrote a book before the toxicity really hit the fan. So that's part of it. I'm gonna share my secrets because you're asking great questions. What I'm doing, I pivoted. I said that I'm doing psychological safety, trust, employee engagement, emotional intelligence work, which is again all advanced DE&I. But I'm also I'm giving it away. Like I'll blitz my clients and go, hey, I've designed a new workshop. Take a look at it. Nobody does this. See, I don't believe in scarcity. I believe in abundance. So I know I have competitors. Oh, if you want to see it, you got to pay for it. Or here's an agenda. I send a full workshop and go, hey, this is what I'm doing around trust. This is what I'm doing around psychological safety. And people are like, oh my God, this is what we were looking for. They didn't know what they needed until they saw it. So that is something that I'm doing that I know a lot of people don't do. I'm speaking every day. I'm out beating the bushes, waiting. All these consultants and coaches that are in their basement offices waiting for the phone to ring. It's not going to ring. The economy, we are about to go off a cliff. These tariffs, and if the Supreme Court overturns them, my God. I mean, Trump's going to get more erratic. He already is erratic, but he's going to get more erratic. And that creates tumult, that chaos, and that uncertainty makes all companies go, wait a minute, right? All companies are like, well, what can we cut? What can we save? What can we put on pause? What can we, in training and coaching are the first things cut, right? Unless We still have to do this. We still need this. So you got to fight your way up the list of priorities. That's what I'm doing. And what's more common? What's the common denominator? We're all dealing with that toxic jerk. And I said this in the workshop on Monday. It's not illegal to be a jerk. It's illegal to be a jerk to a protected class. And so I'm the solution when you got one person or you got a team you want to train to deal with these difficult issues. You know, I'm only just blessed that I'm not exposed to the shutdown. I used to be 100% federal government. Now I'm like 3%. And I'm here. I'm outside DC. I'm sitting at the government throne of power, but
You're right there.
I'm all private sector. And there's 10,000 associations in Washington DC. So I'm doing not for profit work too.
Got it. That's very interesting. So, I mean, as far as, obviously you talk about the current administration, the economy and what's changing. Things are changing very, very rapidly, might I add as well. I mean, when you look around every single day, turn on the news, there's a new headline, a new story, a new twist, a new turn that's happening that's shaking up every industry, right? Not even just coaching and consulting, but across the board. With regard to DTG, what would you say is working well for you all right now? What's one thing that's been working well? And then aside from things on the political spectrum, what's been the one thing that's been frustrating as of late?
Yeah. So I have two kinds of clients. I have proactive clients that, right, look, we're going to continue to do the work. We don't care what this president says, because their customers are diverse, their staff is diverse. They got to continue to invest in their people, retain their best talent. Those are the best clients. They're proactive. They're not affected, but they're not fearful of this administration. But then there are the clients that go, well, since he doesn't want us to do this, we're putting that all on pause. Their heart wasn't in it in the first place. And so I guess what frustrates me is that people hide behind this administration. Oh, we're fearful. They don't want to do it. They don't want to do the work. They don't want to call out these issues. They don't want to talk about favoritism, cronyism, discrimination. They don't want to talk about it. We don't want to do. So those issues fester. Those issues exist and people are suffering. There's so much pain and suffering and misery right now. And the best companies are like, nope, we're going to continue to do this work because it's the right thing to do, because our employees demand it, our customers demand it. The whipping post is Target. When Target said we're not doing this DEI, and all of a sudden a whole bunch of people stopped shopping, including me, stopped giving them our money. We voted with our feet, with our dollars. We boycotted. So I'm seeing the tide turn. I mean, election 2 days ago, a lot of America is not drinking the anti-DE&I Kool-Aid. I just saw something interesting. These groups, these national groups that are trying to stack the school boards with people that ban books and anti-GLBTQ, they lost every one of their elections. Something like 59 places where they were trying to stack, and they all went blue. They all went Democratic. Moms for something. I mean, I don't care about the names, but the report was complete and total devastation. So I see a tide turning. I see people going, we got to do this work. DE&I and capitalism are like linked. The idea that we can do our work and make a ton of money without people of color, without women, it's absolute madness, right?
Right.
Farmers are furious with this administration. Hotel, restaurants, they're like, you're killing us here. We can't find people to do the work. So that pulls on the economy. That slows the economy, then throw in tariffs. So this is the context. This is what I worry about. But at the same time, you got to be that lone voice, call it out, challenge it, provide solutions. That's where I am. It's a great question. It's a complicated question. And quite frankly, we got to now, how erratic will this president be between now and next election a year from now? He is going to be out of his mind, hateful, divisive, which is my work, right? I mean, the irony is the guy who's saying, don't do this work, is creating opportunities where our work needs to be done. He's an enigma wrapped inside a nightmare, dipped in BS.
I hear you. I hear you. It's sad. It's sad, really, that there's this split right now. You're right. It's like I said, you just turn on the TV. You can't turn on the TV without seeing something else, right, that's transpired and, regardless of which side, you're on, you'd have to agree that it's not good that the country is this split right now.
And he foments it. He's divisive. I'm about unity. He's about, you should hate this guy. You should hate that guy. Innocent people are being thrown in jail. Innocent people are being sent to jails in other parts of the world. I mean, it is Nazi Germany. Gestapo. People running around with their faces covered. What in God's, and the judges, the courts are catching up, going, come on now, right? And if the Supreme Court rules and says tariffs are dead, you can't do that. Holy cow, he is going to lose his mind. Erratic already. He'll be, I don't know. I don't even know if there's a term. He's going to go berserk.
Right, right. How are there any strategies? Which strategies do you have right now to combat a lot of the frustrations that you're noticing on a day-to-day basis? Is
Well,
there
I'm
anything
using
that's
social
been
media.
working?
Yeah, I'm using social media. I'm posting. I'm pushing my workshops out. I've been doing this work for 30 years, so I've got a lot of clients. So I can show them new stuff. They want to see new stuff, and then so I got a lot of repeat business. I got a lot of repeat business. The book has given me a different kind of new work, which is cool. And so it's the book, it's social media. When I post on LinkedIn, I can reach out to 5 million people through these different groups. Like right now, I'm saying, hey, got that jerk in your life? It's just a total nightmare and doesn't know it. He's a narcissist. Give him my book. Put your name on it. Give it to him anonymously. Maybe you dog ear a couple pages, post it's like, this is you, and just slip it under his door in his office or mail it to his house with no return address. People think it's funny, but they're like, that's not a bad idea. Or it's a family member, right? Because right now I've got family that are nightmares. And they were very upset about this last election. Oh, and they're Christians. And I'm like, oh my God, right? So this bud's for you. This book is for you. And there's audio, it doesn't have to be paper. There's audio, there's ebooks. I got all that stuff. But the bottom line is you can't ignore it. You can't ignore the toxicity because it eats you alive. The bully loves people who don't push and fight back. So right now, it's all about standing up for yourself, going from what I say bystander to upstander, getting in the game, not regretting. But years from now, our children are going to ask, what did you do during these ridiculous times? Our grandchildren are going to ask, what did you, and I'll be like, check it out, right? I had a person, I didn't say this yesterday. I had a person call me a wetback over the weekend and a Mamdani communist. I didn't curse. I followed I said, I repeated, you just called me. Wow. Right. That is so unbecoming. Do you know how you come across? Right. And he kept cursing at me. But you know what? No one else said anything. No one from his camp, no one from his political, no one said, hey, man, you've gone too far. Hey, nope. Because they all drink this hate Kool-Aid. That was last weekend. And you know what a family member of mine did? He said, relax, man. Don't get so offended. I was like, what is wrong with you? That's called blaming the victim. I'm like, what is wrong with you? And by the way, tons of people like I'm almost said who it was. He's a racist. I said, yes. And he doesn't know it, right? Because if you support racism, you are by association fomenting silently, tacitly supporting the racism. He doesn't see it that way. And I don't care because the rest of the people are like, your brother's an idiot. I'm like, wow, it's crazy time.
Right.
Yeah. Good
Very,
time.
very crazy
Good for
times.
business.
You're right, exactly. And it's interesting, like that you said that, a lot of the changing dynamics of our society tie right into what you offer and what your specialty is, which can be great for you, but it also can be a challenge in other ways. So it's very, very, good to hear that you are being able to navigate those pivots that are taking place. Let's talk about what's next. What's next for DTG? What's next? Where do you want to be 6 to 12 months from now? Where do you see DTG?
And this is a great question. And it's kind of funny because people don't understand the concept of enough. I have enough. I own my office. So when I sell my office, on top of everything else, I have enough. I don't want to grow. The business was bigger before. It's smaller. I don't want to get it bigger again. I don't want to worry about payroll every 2 weeks. I'm working 4 days a week. I want to go to 3. And I want to keep speaking, keep being paid to speak. And when I speak, I land more business because there's people in the audience. I want to keep doing what I do. I've spent 30 years trying to find people to pay me for what I love to do. And for 30 years, for 30 years, just me personally, trainer, consultant, coach, there's 22 billable days in a month. Am I busy 18 to 20 of those 22? For 30 years, yes, which is crazy. Every year, every month, every week, do I have a full plate, right? And do I have the time to market to fill that up? Since I turned 50, almost 10 years ago, I went to 4-day work week, breakthrough. And now I want to go to 3. And because of my book, and I'm not, it's funny. You write a book and people go, oh my God, you must be good. Did you read the book? Well, no. Okay. It's an interesting bias, but you don't actually know if I'm any good, but you wrote a book, right? So I'll play with that, and I am a very good speaker. I love it. And I get a lot of repeat speaking gigs. So I want less, not more. I want to work less, but get paid more per hour. And in essence, be smarter about it. That's where I am. And I'm saying this in different ways in different podcasts. And I think that's what everybody wants. I want more time with my family, more time with my wife and kids, making more money. And we're going to retire in a couple of years. We're going to make it smaller. I'm going to teach probably at a university because I taught before. I taught on Monday. I love working with the younger adults in our world. Doing more with not-for-profits, probably. I'm not writing. Everybody's like, were you writing another book? I'm like, oh, hell no. I'm done writing books. One's enough, honestly. I probably have enough stories for a second book, but I'm not going to do that. But yeah, it's slowing down, smelling the roses, enjoying life more. And maybe taking, instead of 8 to 10 weeks of vacation a year, taking 10 to 12. Yeah.
That's what it's about, right? That's
Yeah,
what it's
man.
about. It's about family. It's about, being healthy and loving life and cherishing each moment. It's not always about, work, work, work and work, work, work. You have to, like you said, stop and smell the roses because, you know, 20, 30, 40 years from now, right? When you're sitting there with your family and your grandkids and maybe even your great grandkids, they're going to remember the times that you spent with them, not, how hard you worked, right? They're going to remember the things that money can't buy and, things that they learned and those memories that they have with you. So that's really powerful that
You know
you
where I went with
realize
the
that.
questions? I went somewhere. My father, my immigrant father, worked his what off. He worked during the day, he worked at night, he worked on weekends. We built a house with his own hands at the beach, which now I'm running. I don't know if he knew how to relax. I don't know if he really knew. He just like, I'll just work through the exhaustion. I'll just keep working. I've got his work ethic, but I also know how to relax. Like I got a fire pit ready in my backyard. I'm going to go back there. I'm going to have a fire pit Friday night and Saturday night, bourbon in my hand, my dog by my side, my wife, whatever I got. But my point is to the trainers and the coaches listening, don't just kill yourself. Your health, it's going to catch up with you. That's one thing I'm thinking about. But I think the other thing is finding fulfilling work is hard. Coaching, I don't do full-time coaching. I don't know anybody who does. You got to sprinkle it. It also can burn you out. So, I mean, I like mixing it up. Large group with a small group with an individual. I like the mixing up of that. Technology, by the way, before COVID, I didn't do this. Webinars and now I'm doing this. I'm watching CEOs and giving them feedback, which is interesting. But like I said, I like getting out of the office. To me, being in the office is like, oh, I'm losing my mind. Oh, did you get my email? Did you get my fax? I'm like, unfortunately, I did. Instead of I was training, right? I was training. I was on site with a client. What's going on? How can I help? I kind of like that. In the end, like you said, in the end, what do you want on your tombstone? You work like an animal. Nobody knows it. I'll tell you the moment of truth for me, and I haven't brought this up before, but you're really making me think. I was in Japan working for the Navy. I was on a big 2-week trip, and I called home, and my youngest, my Maya, picked up the phone. I said, "Hey, babe, honey, is it snowing at our house?" And Maya said, "Yeah, Daddy, it's snowing at our house. Is it snowing at your house?" "What? Your house is my house." She thought I had another house. At one time I was, and I said to my wife, "I'm cutting this back. We can live in a bigger house. I can drive newer cars and you'll never see me. And she's like, absolutely. And again, the son of immigrants, all my cars, if you add up all the miles, it's like 2 million miles. It's madness. All our cars are tons of miles. In the end, what is it that we all want? Right? Happiness for me is balance, doing fulfilling work, but being there for the soccer game, being there for the play, being there. And I didn't miss any of that because I control everything. Right? Like tonight, I'm going to go watch my daughter at a field hockey game. She's not even
Awesome.
playing anymore. She's the coach now, and we're going right. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's awesome. Mauricio, you mentioned that your main goal, right, for you and for your business is to decrease the time that you're spending in the business itself, right? Right now you're working about 4 days a week and you'd like to go down to 3. Let me ask you this. If you had a magic wand to fix one thing in your business that you would say is holding you back or slowing you down from getting to that point where you could go to 3 days a week or 2 days a week even, what do you think that one thing is right now?
Well, it's maybe I didn't fully answer this before because you're good at asking the same question a different way. I hate billing, invoicing, collections. Oh, is your company registered here? Are you on this database? Administration. I can't stand it. So I have delegated. Again, surround yourself with smart people and delegate. And I told Renee's my right hand of my firm, my COO, my superstar. I told her yesterday, I said, when you retire, I retire. When you're done, I'm done. You're irreplaceable. And I'll tell you this. One day I'm looking at Renee a couple years ago. Well, it doesn't matter. She was going through a hard time. And I said, what's going on? What's wrong? And Renee looked at me. She goes, I can't keep it all together, man. My house is suffering. The cleanliness. I said, I've got you. And Renee's like, what do you mean? I said, find a cleaning service. Find one. I will pay for it. She's like, what? Yeah. And they'll clean my house because my wife and I were like, man, we can't keep up with the 3 kids. And they'll clean our office. That cleaning service, which my firm pays for, cleans my top person's house. I bet you there's an employer in this country that provides that. I do. Why? If Renee is happy, I'm happy. Just like if my wife Kelly's happy, I'm happy. Kelly was like, this is awesome. I mean, I'm the son of immigrants. I never had a maid in my house, cleaning, come on now. But by the way, I'm the first in my family to have a garage. My parents were like, wow, you must be successful. I'm like, what are you talking about? You have a garage. I'm like, that's why you've been standing outside this whole time. I was like, what? Right? So I don't take anything for granted. I solve problems as quickly as I can, but I help everyone around me. And I delegate what I don't like. Well, why should I be doing stuff that I don't like? That this other person is smarter than me. So there's a lot. I know I'm sharing a lot, and there's a lot to
No, it's
unpack.
great.
Yeah.
It's great. Very, very, very relevant, especially like I said, with regard to everything that's happening right now, everything you're talking about. I think our listeners are going to have and gain tremendous value from it.
One more
The
thing.
insight.
We are studying AI more explicitly. We are looking at it more. In particular, I'm looking at Zly.ai for my book promotion. I'm hearing good things. But technology can only go so far, right? And the people with jobs that are being replaced by technology are being replaced by people that know AI and technology. Technology isn't completely replacing. So, and I actually feel kind of fortunate that I can get out of here in the next couple of years. And the AI thing is it's not gonna make me obsolete. But we are studying technology solutions as well.
Great insight as well there. I mean, definitely technology is changing every single day as well. Not just the economy, not just, the political spectrum of what we see on the news, but yes, technology is another end of it. I mean, there's so many different facets of this industry that are constantly evolving, that we have to stay in front of if we want to, stay on top of our game. So definitely valuable insight. Kind of also answers the next question, which would have been the advice you'd have for other coaches and consultants, or maybe even newer ones, which I think you've eloquently shared throughout this entire
Yeah,
podcast.
yeah.
Great
I've been
advice.
answering that. Yeah. But I would add, don't narrow your focus either. Don't be an expert of one And don't ever use the phrase jack of all trades. You're a master specialist. There's diversity and equity work, there's sexual harassment and gender work, there's investigations and ombudsman. I do a lot of different things under and through the rubric. Be flexible, be versatile, understand the market and where they're going. I think they're going, well, my clients are asking me, they're going for the content, the coaching content, the training that I'm providing. So you got to be kind of a little bit ahead of the curve. Don't keep doing the same things you've always done and expect it to improve. That's madness. You got to constantly be tweaking, pivoting, studying your competition, which in my space, they're dying. They're collapsing because of the anti-DEI, but it's going to come back. The blood's going to come back to the body. This will pass. This election shows you that it's going to pass. In my particular space, just don't be the I can do this all myself person, because you'll kill yourself and your marriage.
Great advice. Thank you for that. Mauricio, where can listeners connect with you? I know you have diversitytraininggroup.com as your website. You have your
diversitydtg.com. I'm on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn, diversitydtg.com. And on there is my bookstore. There's podcasts and articles, some really good podcasts where I battle with some nasty people, which is a lot of fun. And they end up in the podcast kind of turning and going, oh, as a radio show. I actually kind of agree with you. I'm like, thank you. But his hate was clouding his judgment. But diversitydtg.com, clearly. Or Tackling Toxicity, which you can find on Amazon, but don't buy it on Amazon. Don't give this billionaire more money. He doesn't need more money. I just heard today that Elon Musk might get paid $1 trillion this year. That's just insane, obscene, right? I tell you, what a time we live in. And this podcast and your questions have been phenomenal. They've been spot on. It's tough to be a coach right now. And it's going to get harder, and the economy's going to dip. It's going to dip. I mean, the layoffs, it's already starting. So massive layoffs. So stick with the fight, keep pushing, get out there. You got to be heard, be seen. Don't wait for the phone to ring.
Mauricio, thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
And to our listeners, thank you for listening and for being part of a conversation that's redefining what it means to grow, lead, and create impact. If today's episode resonated, share it, follow along, and keep the energy moving forward. Because the future of coaching and consulting isn't written by chance. It's written by those willing to evolve. I'm Kevin Holly, and until next time, keep building something extraordinary.